Good evening. I'd like to take a brief moment to remind all present that this meeting is a space for respectful and constructive discussion. I should add that the Standards Committee, at its meeting on the 4th of June 2025, have requested that I make it clear to all members that by attending this meeting today, we are all agreeing to abide by the Members' Code of Conduct. In doing so, members are reminded of the contract that we all sign up to regarding the standards expected from us. Let's remain professional, respectful, listen to one another, and uphold the decorum expected of this chamber. Members of the public are asked to observe the public meeting protocol, copies of which are available on some seats as well as on the Council's website. Could I also remind all members, in accordance with paragraph 6.1 of the Council Procedure Rules in the Constitution, that if you are able, please do stand up when speaking and addressing me. May I remind all present that the meeting will be streamed live on the Council's website and also on Oldham Community Radio, and the recording will be available after the meeting. Before we proceed with tonight's agenda, I'd like to invite the Reverend Stephen Smith to lead us in a brief reflection.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before I address Council this evening, I've been asked that we first take a few moments to remember two people who died recently, both of whom in their own way have made significant contributions to the life of this nation. Her Royal Highness Catherine, Duchess of Kent, and the former world boxing champion Ricky Hatton. Thank you. Honourable members, I don't think any reasonable or fair-minded person can be anything but deeply concerned about some of the things that we've been witnessing recently, both in this country and in the wider world. It seems to be becoming an increasingly regular occurrence that people are using social media and public gatherings to incite people to violence against their political and ideological opponents. We've heard people calling for the deaths of those they disagree with, and where those deaths have actually occurred, we've had the quite appalling spectacle of people rejoicing in the murder of those whom they quite obviously see as their enemies. It seems that there are an increasing number of people among us who see anyone who disagrees with them as an extremist of some kind or another, who needs to be silenced in one way or another. But if, like me, you have an interest in history, and I'm sure many of you do, you'll recognise that situations such as this have occurred repeatedly over the years. And very often situations like this have occurred when there's been a breakdown in trust between people and the state. People have become disenchanted with those who govern them and with the apparatus of government. They've begun to believe that those in authority are not listening to them, that they neither understand nor are addressing what they see as their legitimate concerns, because they believe that they simply don't care about them. Now, these are accusations, as we all know, that we've heard a great many times in this country for a number of years and under a number of different governments. And history tells us that situations like this do become quite fertile soil for extremists, who usually offer people simple, quick-fix solutions to the problems, and so they pull many more reasonable people to extremes. And at the extremes, people do become more and more entrenched in their own opinions. There's an increasing polarisation of society, which becomes more intolerant and potentially more violent. This is what we see in history, and we have seen it many times. But as the saying goes, the first lesson of history is that people never learn the lesson of history. Now, I think if we don't want history to repeat itself, and we're going to begin to solve the issues that divide people, one of the things that must happen, I'm sure, is that we start to rebuild trust between people and the state, between those who govern and the apparatus of government, and those who are governed. So tonight, and as we move forward, what I would ask is that we all take some time to think about how we might do that, about how we might enable people to trust those in authority, both nationally and locally, and also about what we can do as individuals, each one of us, not only to help to win people's trust, but also to make sure that we're actually worthy of that trust. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Smith. And could we now have a few moments of reflection in remembrance of the late Duchess of Kent? Thank you. We'll now move on to the business of the meeting. Item 1, apologies. I have received apologies for absence from councillors Lancaster, Quigg and Sheldon. Are there any other apologies?
Councillor Williamson.
Thank you. That's noted. Thank you. Item 2, minutes. The minutes of the last council meeting held on the 16th of July 2025 were circulated with the agenda pack. Does any member wish to comment on the minutes? Can council agree that the minutes of the council meeting on the 16th of July 2025 be approved as a correct record? Thank you. Item 3, declaration of interest. Are there any declarations of interest from members in respect of matters to be determined by the council at this meeting?
Mr. Mayor, I've got a non-pecuniary interest in the administration's motion 2.
Thank you. Councillor Bashforth.
Yeah, I need to declare a personal interest. Item 11, motion 2.
Item 14, HMO.
Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Murphy.
Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a personal interest in item 11, motion 2, in relation to a new police station. Thank you.
Any others? No, thank you. Right, thank you. Item 4 on the agenda is urgent business. In respect of item 14, introduction of Article 4 direction for houses of multiple occupation, there is a note in the supplementary pack at page 69 which details corrections to the report at page 71. There are details of a Liberal Democrat amendment to the report. Sorry, at page 71 are details of a Liberal Democrat amendment to the report. And regarding item 17, review of polling districts and polling places, a revised and updated report has been published. Please refer to the version that has been circulated around the chamber this evening and not the version in the agenda pack, the Green Book. Item 5, communications relating to the business of the council. It is with sadness that I refer to the recent passing of former councillor Christine Dougdale, who represented the Waterhead ward between 1994 and 2004. I have been notified that members wish to say a few words. Councillor Sykes and Councillor Dean. Councillor Sykes.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I rise to pay tribute to the late colleague, Christine Dougdale. Had to have a double take on that because she's always been Chris Dougdale to me, who served as a Waterhead councillor for 10 years between 1994 and 2004. Chris was a native of Workington. Her parents moved to Oldham for work when she was just 8, and the family were active in a local church and in the wider community. Chris met Mike, her husband, at St Anne's Amateur Dramatics in Royton, an excellent training school for being a councillor. Like many good councillors, it was local political issues and community issues that brought Chris into politics. She was staunchly opposed to the proposal to tip in the Beal Valley to create the so-called golf course. Chris was a true champion of green spaces. She was, as I would describe her, a steely lady on many topics and a very valuable member of our group. She was involved in the opposition to the development of Clayton playing fields on the Royton-Cheriton border, and it gave her great pleasure to grant town green status for Clayton playing fields when she got the opportunity to do so some time later. She was a champion for Waterhead Ward and a valued Liberal Democrat colleague over many years. She had a long record on the Council's Environmental Services Committee, looking after those special green spaces in our borough, and she genuinely cared so deeply about. In later life, Chris and her husband moved to North East Wales, where she became a librarian and started to learn Welsh. She was even appointed a magistrate, clearly carrying on her passion for public service. Chris spent her final years living in Colwyn Bay under the care of her family in a local nursing home. Our thoughts on this side, and I'm sure the rest of the chamber, go with her husband Mike, who supported her through all her activities when she was a councillor, and her sister Anne, as we remember Chris and her excellent first-class service to the Borough of Oldham. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sykes. Councillor Dean.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I remember, and many people in Waterhead remember, Chris as a fantastic local councillor, very well respected and a fantastic campaigner. And in actual fact, during the campaign for the Beal Valley, actually she came to a new unit of measurement, and that was by double-decker bus. And she claimed that it was, I think, 7 double-decker buses deep. And that's always stuck with me. But she was a really good councillor, a fantastic campaigner for the issues that Howard has mentioned, and she'll be and was very well respected in Waterhead, and surely a lot of people will have very fond memories of her, and memories that actually really appreciated the help and support that she was given. And I offer my condolences to all the family, as I'm sure everyone in the room does. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Does any other member wish to speak? Please, will Council join me in observing a minute's silence in memory of former Councillor Dougdale? Thank you. The Chief Executive has been notified that Councillors Ball, Quigg and Wilkinson have formed a new group and will now sit as Reform UK members. An updated report on changes to the political balance will be brought to the next council meeting. The current political balance of the council is as follows: Labour, 27 seats; Liberal Democrats, 9 seats; Oldham Group, 9 seats; Conservatives, 4 seats; Reform UK, 3 seats; the Independent Group, 2 seats; Failsworth Independence Party, 2 seats; Royton Independents, 2 seats; Royton Local Group, 2 seats. Regarding item 11, notice of opposition business, as agreed outside of this meeting, the timings for this item will be allocated as follows: Oldham Group motion, 12 minutes and 30 seconds; Liberal Democrat motion, 12 minutes and 30 seconds; Conservative motion, 5 minutes. Item 6, petitions. There are no petitions for this meeting of the Council to consider. Item 7, Youth Council. We have not received a motion from the Youth Council to consider at this meeting. We now move to item 8, public questions of 15 minutes. We will now move on to item 8 on the agenda, public questions. In line with the Council Procedure Rule 10, Council will consider questions submitted in the order they were received. The time allowed for questions is a maximum of 15 minutes. Once this time limit expires, no further questions will be asked. There is no right of reply to answers given. I will advise of the name of the questioner. I will read out the question and ask the relevant Cabinet member or their deputy to respond. Responses will be limited to a maximum of 2 minutes. If the time limit is expired and questions remain outstanding, the questioner will receive a written response. The response will also be published on the Council website shortly after the meeting. The first question is from Bilba Shabir. What is Oldham's Council's plan for protecting the rights for the people and families living in an HMO? I call upon Councillor Taylor to reply.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you to Dilber for your question. Oldham Council has a dedicated housing options service, which includes a tenancy relations service. Any resident or household which needs help, advice and/or support in relation to their housing circumstances can contact the service, who will be happy to help. We can offer advice in person or via the telephone, whichever is best for the resident. The resident will be made aware of their statutory rights in terms of tenancy sustainment, and should a landlord be acting inappropriately or unlawfully, the team can take the necessary action. This can range from ensuring the landlord is aware of their responsibilities and obligations through to undertaking enforcement action where needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. The next question is from Saheed Maroof Ali. I would like to ask the Council what steps it is taking in partnership with local NHS and public health bodies to address health inequalities affecting British South Asian communities in Oldham. National NHS data shows that only 50% of Bangladeshi South Asian patients start treatment within 18 weeks, with delays even worse in deprived areas like ours. Many face barriers to access, digital exclusion and a lack of culturally appropriate care. What targeted work is being done to reduce waiting times, improve access and ensure fairer outcomes for Bangladeshi South Asian residents? I call upon Councillor Brownridge, Cabinet Member for Adult Health and Wellbeing, to reply.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Maroof. It's true that South Asian communities experience notable health inequalities, including higher rates of type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease, and face barriers to accessing care. Cardiovascular disease factors emerge earlier and at lower weights in this population, and local services are under pressure. So we are prioritising prevention and early intervention. So we work through our health champions and action together to engage anchor organisations and community leaders. We recommend physical activity and co-develop culturally appropriate opportunities with community groups. To prevent CVD and diabetes, we support residents to quit smoking and alternative tobacco use and maintain a healthy weight. Your Health Oldham provides tailored weight management and cessation services, including work with the Women's Chai Project. The ICB and Oldham Community Leisure are collaborating on CVD prevention with culturally aware education and train-the-trainer sessions to build community capacity. The NHS Health Checks programme identifies early signs of CVD, and uptake amongst the South Asian residents has doubled in the past year, and we continue to improve reach and quality. Our population health management approach is data to identify at-risk groups and tailor culturally sensitive care plans. Diabetes education is being reviewed by the GM Strategic Clinical Network to ensure cultural relevance. And the Women's Chai Project will deliver a targeted programme and host events next year. Drug and alcohol treatment is being improved through Turning Point, working with community leaders to provide outreach, interpreters and culturally tailored resources. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Brownridge. We now have a question from Lewis Farnworth. Due to the rise in inflation of 3.9%, what support will you give to the lowest paid households? For example, unpaid carers and pensioners, as food prices continue to rise and the essentials becoming more unaffordable. I call upon Councillor Barbara Brownridge to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Farnworth. We know that the cost of living crisis is sadly affecting households across the country. And we launched our We Can Help campaign to ensure that we are doing our bit to help here in Oldham. We can support residents to access food, including emergency food parcels and vouchers, including accesses day-to-day essentials. We also support through our Warm Homes Oldham team to keep houses warm and offer advice on saving energy bills. Advice is on hand on claiming benefits and with personal budgets. And further information is available by visiting the council website or calling the helpline service or by visiting one of our libraries or the customer service centre at Spindles. We encourage residents to share their contact details and we will arrange a call back from the helpline team at a convenient time. In addition, for those unpaid carers requiring support, our Oldham Carers Service, led by Adult Social Care, offers a range of free services for unpaid carers, of which there is quite a long list which I may not have time to read out. So the contact details are on the website and we would urge people to get in touch if they have any questions or concerns. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Brownridge. I have a question from Richard Lowe Jackson. Given the new EVCI strategy relies on commercially priced on-street charges, what specific steps will the Council take to mitigate the significant financial penalty imposed on the 60% of residents without driveways, many of whom have lower incomes, to ensure the transition to EVs is fair and equitable for all? I call upon Councillor Chris Goodwin, the Cabinet Member for Transport and Highways, to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since this question was submitted, I have exchanged detailed correspondence with Mr. Lowe Jackson, but for the benefit of the Chamber, I will give my answer. Oldham Council is making several investments in electric vehicle charging infrastructure across the borough, which is targeted at residents who do not have the potential to install their own chargers at home. As portfolio lead, I have asked officers working on the various projects to ensure that costs to residents are kept as low as possible, so the new charging infrastructure will generally be standard speed chargers so that residents are not paying a premium for rapid chargers. I will also be writing to the government in the near future, requesting that more support is provided, including funding, lowering VAT rates for public chargers to match the VAT rate for domestic electrical supplies. and to require charge point operators to pass on off-peak savings on electricity costs to their customers.
Thank you, Councillor Goodwin. The next question is from Jeff Garner. Please, could Oldham Council support the residents of Friesland, Greenfield, who lost the 356 bus service immediately after the B network took over in April? This cuts off the community by diverting the service elsewhere. Due to having insufficient suitable vehicles to negotiate narrow roads. The service previously ran successfully. I am asking the relevant person at the Council to request the Mayor of Greater Manchester to insist that suitable vehicles are found immediately. Then local residents, in particular the disabled and those without cars, can resume using public transport for essential shopping and medical appointments. 5 months on, and we are still waiting. I call upon Councillor Goodwin to reply.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you to Mr Garner for his question. We are acutely aware of the impact this matter has had on local residents. Officers have been supporting myself and Councillor Charters as Deputy Cabinet Member for Highways and Transport in raising this issue with TFGM on a number of occasions. The most recent response to the Council from TFGM was on 4th of September this year, stating that new vehicles have been introduced and testing is ongoing. It is anticipated that once the vehicle transfers are complete, the 356 service will become operational. At this moment, it is expected to come online week commencing 22nd of September, which strangely enough is my birthday. But anyway, TFGM stated they will confirm the exact date closer to this time. The Council will continue to follow up on this issue on behalf of residents of Oldham, as buses remain a key and important part of our transport network in Oldham.
Thank you, Councillor Goodwin. We have a question from Michael Powell. To ensure good governance and accountability, this Council leadership must be subject to effective scrutiny. At the previous meeting, just one opposition group leader was able to question the leader. The other two main opposition leaders could not, and no other councillors were able to directly challenge the leader either. Scrutiny was also limited when questioning cabinet members, as they appeared to read the reports throughout question time. Will the leader of the council commit to upholding democratic principles by allowing all opposition leaders and councillors to scrutinise her cabinet members and at every council meeting? I call upon Councillor Jabbar, Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Finance, Corporate Services and Sustainability, to reply.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank Mr Powell for his question. Effective scrutiny is a key part of the local democracy. As a council, we positively responded to the feedback from the Local Government Association peer review, and we established 4 cross-party scrutiny boards which play a part in holding the Cabinet to account as effective scrutiny, not just in the chamber here. In terms of the council meeting, there are clear rules in our constitution. We have a total of 90 minutes for the leader and the cabinet reports and questions. Each portfolio section lasts a maximum of 10 minutes, with 6 minutes permitted for questions from non-executive members, so that there is more time spent asking questions than cabinet members presenting their reports. But as I'm sure you will have seen, the questions put to the cabinets are often not short. In the leaders section, the leader of the 2 main opposition groups are entitled to ask questions, and given we have 2 main opposition groups of the same size, group leaders agree a process whereby they alternate which of the 2 main leaders ask their question first. If we don't get all the questions to be answered in the time that's allocated, then we actually make sure that there is answers produced for each of the questions, thereby giving greater transparency. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jabbar. The next question is from Matthew Broadbent. The Beale Valley Broadbent Moss PFE allocation, covering the wards of Shaw, South Royton and St James, will see 1,600 houses built. Places for Everyone requires development to be in accordance with a master plan agreed by the Council. Approval of the master plan will apparently be solely at the discretion of the Cabinet. Given that no party in the Chamber has a clear electoral mandate from the people of Oldham to govern and the impacted wards are excluded from Cabinet representation, does the leadership agree that it would be more democratic to let full council decide approval of the master plan? I call upon Councillor Taylor to reply.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you to Mr Broadbent for your question. To clarify, the master plan, if agreed by the Council, would be an informal planning policy document used to inform consideration of future planning applications. Such planning policy documentation is an executive function under national legislation and the Council's constitution. Under Section 9D of the Local Government Act 2000, any decision-making powers that aren't specifically listed in government regulations as being the responsibility of the full Council are automatically the responsibility of the Council's Cabinet. The Local Authorities Regulations 2000 list functions must be handled by the full Council and not by the Cabinet. These include major decisions like setting the budget or approving the Council's overall strategy. In this regard, the Cabinet acts for the whole borough, as planning decisions, particularly those relating to the provision of housing and employment land, have impacts beyond local wards and are necessary to ensure all development and infrastructure needs are met across the borough. Thank you.
We have 50 seconds left, and the next question was from Pat Cliff. 20-mile-per-hour zones are established in most Saddle villages, but in Diggle, having secondary, primary and nursery schools on the main road, there is apparently no progress, despite discussion with councillors and speed measured. Proposals are mooted for a scheme at the secondary school, but not the whole village, where speeding cars are concerning residents, and where there have been 2 recent significant accidents, one near the primary school, the other causing the main road to close due to injuries and police investigations. Please could the Cabinet member update on residents' consultation and commit to a scheme covering the whole village? I'm sorry, but we're out of time now. That will have to be a written reply. Thank you. Moving on to item 9. There's questions to the Leader and Cabinet. There are 90 minutes set aside for this item in line with the Constitution. Each Cabinet member has a maximum of up to 4 minutes to present their report, with a further 6 minutes for questions from non-executive members. If the full 4 minutes is not used, the Constitution is clear that 6 minutes is the only time permitted for questions, with no provision in the Constitution to extend. As agreed previously amongst the group leaders, the 2 main opposition group leaders rotate who starts the questions to the leader. For this meeting, Councillor Sykes will ask his questions first. Time permitting, Councillor Gafford can then ask his questions, and then Councillor Woodbine can ask his question. Could I invite Councillor Arush Shah, Leader of the Council and Cabinet Member for Growth, to present her report. This includes receiving the minutes of the meeting of the Cabinet and the Greater Manchester Combined Authority and Executive as listed on the Council agenda. Councillor Shah.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Let me be clear, Oldham is stronger thanks to Greater Manchester. GM's economy has proven over the last decade that we're on the right track, consistently outpacing anywhere else in the UK's economic growth. The new Greater Manchester strategy, published in July, sets out a bold ambition for a thriving city region where economic and social progress go hand in hand. For Oldham, this means real opportunity. We've received commitments from Greater Manchester that will accelerate regeneration in 5 key areas: Atom Valley, Oldham Town Centre, Sports Town, Northern Routes and Chadderton Town Centre. These are not just names on a map, Mr Mayor. They represent our commitment to delivering real benefits for residents sooner rather than later. And as part of our Creating Better Place Oldham programme, I was honoured to open the refurbished old library, now known as the J.R. Kleins building. This Grade 2 listed gem has been beautifully restored and reimagined as a vibrant civic and cultural hub. Hundreds joined us to celebrate its reopening, and it now houses the offices for councillors, the Mayor's Parlour, Art Gallery, and most importantly, the Oldham Theatre Workshop, which sees up to 500 children and young people using this brand new facility every week. The J.R. Kleins building stands as a symbol of ambition and pride for our town, a place for our residents to be proud of and enjoy. We're also making our streets safer, greener and more welcoming. Completed schemes on Albion Street and Fountain Street are already making a visible difference, and more improvements are on the way, including rain gardens, seating areas and high-quality public spaces that complement our wider regeneration efforts. Also, Mr Mayor, in the midst of a housing crisis caused by a decade of underinvestment and inaction by central government, I'm delighted to report that we're on track to exceed our annual housing delivery target again this year, with around 750 homes forecast, well above the 680 home requirement that we have. Crucially, around a third of these are on the council-owned or facilitated sites, helping us deliver much-needed affordable and social housing. We're on course to surpass our 500 home target for new social homes by 2029, with a significant increase expected in 2026 and 2027. And as we work to make Oldham a more attractive town for small businesses, our shopfront grant schemes have seen 45 applications from local businesses eager to invest in the town centre. Events like the Oldham Bar Hop and the Ale Hop Trail are bringing vibrancy to our evenings, building on the success of Oldham Live and other initiatives. And with Nostalgic Oldham returning later this month, plus a packed winter programme, including a brand new Hive Festival, we're creating a town centre that's lively, that's inclusive and that's also full of character. And I don't think it's an understatement to say that now, more than ever, that any other time since the horrific riots in 2001, community cohesion has been absolutely vital. I was proud to chair earlier this month the leading Oldham board and where we brought all together key partners, key stakeholders and leaders of the place to talk about and discuss community cohesion and our approach to it. We all recognise that Oldham's diversity is our strength, and it was inspiring to hear the commitment from partners and community leaders to build stronger, safer and more connected communities. I'm also proud that Oldham Council has been awarded the Armed Forces Gold Award, and that's the highest honour in recognition of our unwavering commitment to the Armed Forces Covenant. This prestigious accolade reflects the outstanding dedication of our staff, our partners, in championing the well-being of service personnel, of veterans and their families. It's a very powerful statement and endorsement of the values that we uphold and the meaningful support we continue to provide to our incredibly valued Armed Forces community, including the servicing personnel, veterans and all their families. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Sykes,
Mr Mayor,
first question.
Mr Mayor, in accordance with Part 4A, Point 2.1.3I relating to Leader and Cabinet reports, I'd like to propose to suspend procedural rules to allow opposition group leaders, and there's plenty of us now, to allow extra time for questions. Thank you.
The Council wish to suspend the procedural rules. The vote, please. Those in favour? Those against? That is lost. We will not be suspending the rules. Carry on, Councillor Sykes.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Last December, Councillor Shah made a clear promise to the people of Oldham that the Oldham Coliseum would be open in time for the 25 Panto season. But we've known for a long time now that we've been unable to keep that promise. The refurbishment of the theatre has been delayed. We're waiting on whatever additional works means, which no one seems interested in explaining, and no date for the reopening has been set. Mr Mayor, the community fought tooth and nail to save the Coliseum. They shouldn't be left in the dark over its future. A statement about the delay, but with no details, was issued at the start of June. It's months now since they asked the leader for details of its refurbishment, but even though the Labour group and the administration colleagues teamed up to block questions from me at the last council meeting just like they've done now for Councillor Gafour and Councillor Woodvine. So I wrote to her at the end of July about these matters and got a non-answer with still no further information. So since June, 3 months ago, we're no closer to the answers. So I'll ask them again tonight. Can the leader outline the new timeline for completion and when we can realistically expect the doors of the Coliseum to reopen? What are the extra costs required and what will they cost? And can she confirm whether the budget allocated for this project is sufficient? Or are we now looking at potential overspends, further delays, or even a scaling back of the plans? Residents, the community, the business community, and everybody deserves some clarity and answers, please.
Councillor Sharp.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and I'd like to thank the Leader of the Opposition for his answer, which is very similar to the answer that I provided previously. But clearly, as we do know, that Councillor, the main Leader of the Opposition, always uses this opportunity to make points that only he is interested in and to prepare for, like, the next Lib Dem leaflet, which never changes, by the way. It's the same over and over again. I'm unable to give some of that information because if Councillor Howard Sykes accepts that I have responded to this earlier, he will know that what my earlier response was that we are not leading this entirely ourselves. The Friends of the Coliseum are involved, obviously contractor and developers are involved, lots of people have a voice in this space. Now, the delay hasn't been because I've just decided we're going to delay or there's a delay with the contractors. The delay has been because actually the Friends of Coliseum have asked for additional works. We have kept them up to speed. They've visited the Coliseum more times than I have. And actually what they've done is provided their expertise because we weren't going to build a Coliseum that is something that we think is appropriate without their voice. They want something, they're very particular about what they want, and they've asked the plans to be changed once again because they've decided that they want further and additional work done, which is completely fine because what we're not doing is rushing something that is really important. You know, I think that once we lost the Coliseum, the strength of feeling was, you know, there every time we knocked on a door, people raised it, and we took that very, very seriously. And our commitment throughout that time has been that we are going to keep people alongside and appraised in the journey of that. But it's not really appropriate, and actually it's not really doable to give Councillor Sykes a running commentary of every single meeting that we have with them. What he is interested in is when it will open. It will open when it opens, but actually it will open when the Friends of the Coliseum are satisfied with the works, agree with the works, and are absolutely happy and content with the direction of that approach. And that just is, there's nothing else to that apart from the fact that we have a commitment to reopen the Coliseum Theatre. It wasn't opened in Panto because, again, not because the council decided or the contractors or the developers decided. It was because the Friends of the Coliseum didn't think it would do it justice to rush it in that way. And so obviously it is what it is, and it's all in the public domain. There's no secrecy, no conspiracy, even though that's what impression Councillor Sykes likes to leave. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Sykes, your second question.
Thank you. Thank the Leader for a I don't know answer. My second question, Mr Mayor, is to ask why Labour and their colleagues can't get the basics right. Weeds are running riot across our borough, grids and drains are blocked, and in my particular part of the world we're told to wait until next May before they'll be attended to, and this just isn't acceptable. In Shaw and Crompton, like elsewhere, we've got weeds growing like it's some rewilding experiment gone wrong, knee-high, unkempt and completely ignored. We've reported them, residents have reported them, but nothing changes. It's as if the council's new environmental strategy is just wait for winter or a passing herd of cattle to come and eat them or kill them off. And let's not forget the block gullies, which are overflowing and will need digging out if left to rot, which is the current strategy. It's a flooding hazard, it's an eyesore, and it's a symbol of this administration's failure and makes our neighbourhoods look uncared and unloved. Last year we were told cuts to environmental services officers wouldn't affect frontline services. That was clearly nonsense, wasn't it? Streets aren't clean, weeds aren't treated, drains aren't cleared, And the only thing growing faster than the weeds under this leadership is public frustration with these matters. So my questions to the leader tonight are simple. Why can't your coalition get the basic services right? When will you admit that your cuts have left neighbourhoods looking neglected and unloved? And what will you actually do urgently to clear the weeds, clean the gullies, and even restore a shed of civic pride to this borough? I'm sorry, Mr Mayor, the residents aren't buying the excuses anymore, and neither am I.
Councillor Sykes, we're out of time.
Can I raise a point of order, please, Mr Mayor? No, I'd like to raise a point of order, Mr Mayor. He referred to it as a coalition, it isn't.
Noted. We're out of time, so could you provide a written reply which will be circulated?
I mean, actually, can I not just...
No, you're out of time, thank you. Could I invite Councillor Elaine Taylor, Statutory Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Neighbourhoods, to present her report? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. In addition to my written report this evening, I want to highlight the £4.5 million grant allocation funding from central government, which is obviously extremely welcome and which will enable Oldham's 5 districts to support locally based projects in their area. This is capital grant funding for the benefit of Oldham's VCFSE sector. There will be £1 million available for Oldham North, for Oldham Central, for Oldham South and for Oldham East. And Oldham West will receive a £400,000 allocation for Wearmouth, with a top-up of £500,000 from the Chadderton Plan for Neighbourhoods Fund for the 3 Chadderton wards. This funding will enable local voluntary groups and other organisations to deliver community-based and community-led decision-making. This will ensure that people who know their area the best will have a direct say in making decisions on how that money will be spent. In terms of what can be funded, this is any capital expenditure costs associated with the purchase, refurbishment or development of land or buildings. Additionally, this can also include additional costs associated with any expenditure such as professional fees, surveys and project planning. But obviously more guidance will be provided in the application pack. In terms of governance and oversight, the applications and funding proposals must align with the Oldham Plan priorities, which are making sure that Oldham is a great place to live, making sure that residents lead healthier and happier lives, and supporting the green and growing agenda. District community councils and the 5 district leads will oversee the community engagement and application process, supported by the district teams. And along with our partner, Action Together, the assessment panel will be made up of members of the community council and the local district lead. Action Together will take receipt of completed application forms to assess them and to make sure they meet the required criteria. Standardised application forms will be made available after the official launch, but submissions will need to include project overview and objectives, expected community impact, budget breakdown, delivery timeline, and any required risk assessments. The overall programme is intended to support capital expenditure on physical spaces in Oldham where people come together so that the lives of Oldham residents are improved. As the leader has previously stated, every part of the borough will reap the rewards from this vital cash boost, and most importantly of all, every Oldham person will see the benefits. Therefore, I'm pleased to be able to provide some early insight for all members in the chamber this evening, as the formal announcement and launch will be happening very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm sure Councillor Taylor is aware of the ongoing issues residents of Arncliffe Rise in my ward are facing. Following the refusal of planning permission on this site, the land has been left neglected and is now being treated as a dumping ground. This is having a serious impact on daily life. Residents face ongoing disruption, blocked rights of way, forcing children to walk in the road, and a wider feeling of being unsafe in their own community. The Council previously stated that it would be taking steps to clear the land, and while I recognise that there are ongoing legal disputes and appeals, communication with residents appears to have ceased. Could the Cabinet Member provide an urgent update on the current status of the site and outline what action is being taken to both address the immediate problems and to ensure residents are kept properly informed going forwards? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sharp, for your question. So obviously, as you're aware, this has been raised by residents and we have been in regular communication with them. I'm not sure where that position has come from, that communication has slipped, but I'm happy to pick that up with you outside of the meeting. Obviously, we have a commitment to speaking to residents. We do understand that this is subject to an ongoing dispute. We do understand the impact that is having on local residents. And I think, as you've said quite rightly, when we get tied up sometimes in legal matters, it isn't always as straightforward as we would like it to be. But it is our intention to progress this matter. We know it's a matter that we need to reach a resolution. And I think what I would be happy to do is to give you a more up-to-date position, to have a meeting outside of this chamber, and obviously to make sure that the residents are updated if they feel that there's been a gap in that communication. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Charters, you have a question.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. With the ongoing positive results of Operation Vulcan in Durka and the community half event, what are we doing to replicate these results across the borough? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Charters, for your question, and thank you also for submitting it in advance. So the Council's community safety team utilised the same type of problem-solving approach as Operation Vulcan in each of the district areas. However, it is recognised that the additional police resource that Operation Vulcan has brought cannot always be met locally. Our approach does include joint working with partners from GMP and other statutory and VCFSE sector organisations to fully understand the causes and impact of antisocial behaviour and crime, and to develop short, medium and long-term solutions. Wider rollout of similar targeted activities like those deployed as part of Operation Vulcan continues to be a discussion point with key partners, including GMP. I also want to take this opportunity to publicly thank Friends of Stoneleigh Park Volunteer Group, including our very own Councillor Angela Cosgrove, for the valuable work that they do in coordinating the HAF programme in the park. Myself and Deputy Mayor Kate Green visited the park last month on what turned out to be a very hot but action-packed day. And I have to say we were both extremely impressed by not just how well the event was run, but also by the enthusiasm and the level of commitment from the volunteers. We know that these events couldn't happen without the support of the many amazing voluntary organisations that we work with. And our partnership working is what makes our community stronger and our town more resilient. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Arnott.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Taylor, for taking this question. In April 2021, the Council granted planning permission for the former Dog and Partridge pub on Middleton Road in Royton to be demolished and converted into flats. Such was the desire for the building, which had become an eyesore and a hub for antisocial behaviour, to be demolished and developed. The Council waived the developer's obligation to pay over £37,000 in Section 106 obligations. The plan was to build 14 flats to link with a 3-storey extension which was being built next door. Now, more than 4 years on, there is no sign of the building. The 3-storey extension is only partially completed and open to the elements. The site is overgrown, an eyesore and easily accessible with only temporary fencing securing the perimeter. It is only a matter of time before the extension building is set on fire or a child is seriously injured while exploring inside. Royton North councillors have previously cleared the footpath outside the property of overgrown weeds and bushes and secured the fencing to the best of their ability themselves. We have raised this issue previously and have been assured that the council is pursuing enforcement action against the developer, but nothing is happening. I understand that the Cabinet member has a lot on her plate and has a heavy brief, but will she please get a grip of this issue and start to play hardball with the Johnny-come-latelys who are granted permission to develop these properties, in this case on very preferential terms, and then turn out to have neither the cash nor the inclination to complete them, leaving Royton residents to suffer the consequences. Thank you.
Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Arnott for the question. So I myself live on the Chadderton-Royton border, so I know this site quite well. I pass it on a regular basis. And I have raised it myself actually previously with planning, because I do concur that these kind of sites are a blight, and obviously I do understand the frustration that it causes for residents. As a planning authority, we did enforce a Section 215 notice for untidy land, which at the time did help to address some of the issues around how the site had been left. And moving on from that, as I understood it, we had then met with the new owners to work and to look at how we can work with them to develop the site and to make sure that the building site was not left in an untidy state going forward. I think given the update that Councillor Arnott has provided, I think it's probably timely for us to revisit those conversations and obviously potentially to reach out to the owners again. What I just want to really emphasise is
Councillor Taylor.
We do care about these situations and I will pick it up. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Could I invite Councillor Abdul Jabbar, Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Finance, Corporate Services and Sustainability, to present his report?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll just touch on some key points. Obviously, the written report is in the Green Book. Work continues to review our current financial support offer to residents to ensure that we are resident-focused and have joined up and outcome-focused offers. A workshop has been held over the summer led by Oldham Positive Action Network to listen and understand the lived experience of residents experiencing financial crisis. The Council have received notification from the government that the Household Support Fund will be replaced with Crisis and Resilience from April 2026. And I understand, Mr Mayor, that this will be a multi-year settlement rather than a 1 year or 6 months arrangement, which will clearly help us to plan better our targeted support to the residents who need our help. In relation to the fair funding, the government announced the fair funding consultation back in June, and we responded to that consultation, and hopefully by end of October we should know the outcome. I'm hopeful, Mr Mayor, that Oldham gets a better deal under this government than we did previously, because we definitely need it, but we can't confirm anything until we actually get the outcome of the consultation. In relation to the workforce, we've got 2 new senior directors in my portfolio. So Eleanor Devlin's joined as AD in the HR and OD department, and also Matthew Grattan, who's the Director of Digital, is sitting in the audience there. Welcome, Matthew, to Oldham Council. We look forward to working with you for a long time to come. He comes with lots of experience, and I'm already working with him to develop some new way and more efficient way of delivering council services, Mr Mayor. In relation to revenue as benefit, you'll be pleased to know that collection rate for both council tax and business rate for the first quarter has increased compared to last year. Despite the financial difficulties, I'm very, very grateful to the residents of Oldham that they continue to pay their council tax and business rates, because without that, we will really struggle to provide services. We are also, Mr Mayor, very pleased that our welfare support team is working really hard, and in the first quarter of this financial year has helped to gain £830,000 of benefits from people who wouldn't have got it. So again, doing some fantastic work. And in relation to climate change and Green New Deal, our documents for the private sector partner is going to be published next month or beginning of November. And also we are looking forward to starting the work on the Wrigley Head solar farm very soon. Happy to take any questions, Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jabbar. Councillor Akhtar, do you have a question?
I certainly do, Mr Mayor. I submitted 2 questions. I'm assuming the question I'm allowed to ask Councillor Jabbar is the one on social value then? Or is it? So am I allowed to ask the question social value, or I submitted 2 questions, so which one am I allowed to ask now?
Just one question, please.
I know, but
I don't know which. I've not got your question.
The social value one, is that the easier one for you to answer?
I haven't got the question.
Have you got the answer for that one? Right, okay. I knew it would be that. So could a cabinet member responsible for procurement please advise whether Oldham Council will consider incorporating social value clauses into its contracts, which are worth several £million, requiring contractors and suppliers to contribute to local community projects as part of their corporate social responsibility. Specifically, would the Council explore adopting a model similar to Kent Council and Birmingham City Council's Match My Project portal, which facilitates transparent matching of community organisation requests with contractor and supplier offers, thereby enhancing the visibility and delivery of social value initiatives within Oldham's communities? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Akhtar. Very important question. Very often, the Council is the biggest capital expenditure. We have the biggest capital expenditure in the whole of the borough. So therefore, you're absolutely right. We should get the best value for not just for the contract, but also for our residents as well. So I'm very pleased about that. So currently we use the social value portal platform to record social value achievements against each contract, which is included in the procurement process and provides detail of the suppliers about the social value portal. We do have standard social value clauses in our contracts, but main social value requirement for each commission is set at the tender stroke ITT stage, and the performance is then recorded in the portal. Social value approach for the council was established and is led by procurement colleagues as part of the commercial procurement unit. Currently, we don't have any details about the Match My Project initiative that you talked about, but given the significance of it and the angle that you're coming from, I am very happy to sit with you to see how we can incorporate that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Alandani.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The initial budget for the old library building was £16 million. The finished cost was £32 million. Initial budget for the spindles was £68 million, but the full cost has been reported, an estimated £80 million. That's currently, there's still work ongoing. There are several major regeneration projects going on across Oldham Town Centre. If those projects are similarly overspent, as previous projects have been, how much would the total overspend be? And just in the interest of getting through as many questions as possible, if you're happy to just forego the narrative and just give me a figure, I'm okay with that.
Councillor Jawar.
Well, I'm happy to give you a straightforward answer. The issue is this. The way you have portrayed the question and framed it is misleading, because there's been very substantial addition to both projects, both in terms of the library project and the spindle projects, and therefore there's been additional cost. And each time when there's been additional work, we've worked through a new budget for it, and those expenditure for each of the different phases have come into the new budget. So if you're saying the 16 million, yes, that was the initial budget, but then we've added many, many elements to the new, to the project, and therefore the cost has gone up. That's the same case with the spindles. If you want a written response, I'll give you the returns, but that's the case. That was the case as well when we did the Old Town Hall. It started with certain things being done, but then when we started the work, we found there were several other things that needed to be done. And each time we reviewed it, and then we added a new budget to it, and then we made sure that the contractor delivered to that project, that new agreed budget. So the same case here. And I think it's misleading to say that it's all overspent and everything else, and the cost of borrowing is going up. The cost of borrowing is clearly in line with the capital program that we published back in March when we agreed the budget, and it's consistent with that. So this is nothing new in here about all the things going out of control and everything else. The problem we've got is when you have a building like the old library, very old, very different scenario in each of the floors, you have to then, once you go in and start the work, you have to then assess what needs to be done. And from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3, it was all different. And new work had been added on. That's why the cost was different. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Sheen, and we only have 30 seconds.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is quick. Could we hear how the council's building on its strong performance in council tax collection and benefit take-up campaigns to support more residents? Thank you.
Councillor Jawar.
Thank you, Councillor, for your question. I think one of the things, Mr. Mayor, we saw this week was in the BBC website. There's something like 34 billion. Sorry, I thought you were indicating.
Could you do that? No, that's time up. Could you do a written reply,
yes,
please?
I'm more than happy to do a written response. But the point I was making, this week is the pension week.
No, sit down. Oh, sit down, please. Now, could I invite Councillor Shahid Mustak, the Cabinet Member for Children and Young People, to present his report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thought I was bad, but Councillor Jabbar seems to be taking over. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The report highlights the work across the service. Like all councils, the challenges and costs continue, and we continue to tackle these whilst ensuring we're providing the best service for our most vulnerable children and families. As you're aware, we had our Ofsted inspection last year. We haven't been complacent on the back of that good inspection outcome. We've continued to work relentlessly as a service. This was tested again in July with a focused visit on our front door. This isn't a physical front door, it's basically where the referrals come in and how they are dealt with, how we work with our partners to ensure referrals are made correctly, which can be challenging given the nature of the service. Inspectors evaluated the quality of help and protection provided to vulnerable children and their families in the front door, the multi-agency safeguarding hub, or the MASH, and in the assessment and intervention team. They met social workers and their managers and looked in detail at children's records. The Ofsted-focused inspection outcome was very positive, reinforcing the fact that we haven't been complacent since last year's full inspection. The letter published in August states, quote, since the last inspection in May 2024, the new Executive Director of Children and Young People, which is reference to Julie Daniels, who was previously part of the Oldham leadership team, has shown an unrelenting focus on continual improvement and the consistent delivery of good services for vulnerable children. Children and their families receive a prompt and effective response to their needs from experienced and confident social workers and managers in the MASH and the assessment and intervention team in Oldham. The shared understanding of thresholds and risk, the culture of collaboration and support, and the co-location of multi-agency partners leads to the facilitation of effective information sharing and partnership working at the front door, end quote. The areas identified for improvement were already part of the Achieving Excellency Plan, which came out of last year's inspection. Again, highlighting the fact that we know ourselves well, including strengths and weaknesses. I'd like to thank Julie Daniels and the Children's Leadership Team, as well as all the staff, social workers and everyone else providing support to our children and young people. Our current social worker agency rate is 23.3%, with an ongoing focus on growing our own social work pipeline, with more permanent social workers joining in the next 2 months. The Complex Safeguarding Hub continues to support Operation Sherwood and vulnerable children against criminals that seek to exploit them. It's imperative that we all work together to ensure our children and young people are safe and protected. I'd also like to mention the HAF programme, which provides activities and food throughout the holidays across the borough. Myself and colleagues visited some of the sessions. It was great to see children enjoying activities they might not have the opportunity to take part in had the HAF programme not been in place. Thank you to the team for their work with the providers and to the providers themselves for the fantastic way they delivered the activities. Lots of volunteers help out across the borough in these HAF programmes. As we know, Oldham wouldn't be Oldham without all the amazing volunteers that give their time to help and support others. Thank you to all of you wonderful people. Happy to take any questions, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mustak. We do have questions. Councillor Junaid Hussain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could the Cabinet members share how we are celebrating and building on the positive feedback from Ofsted to maintain momentum for improvement?
Councillor Mustak.
Yeah, thank you. Should have sent you my report. I've mentioned it. Thank you for the question, Councillor Hussain. So we plan to celebrate the positive feedback from the Ofsted Focus visit with our workforce and partners at our annual Children's Services Conference in early 2026. The areas of recommendation have been incorporated into our Achieving Excellence Action Plan. So basically, this is the plan that came out of the Ofsted inspection last year. So, as I said, we weren't complacent. We immediately got on to working towards, obviously, improving further the service. Progress is reviewed by the leadership team on a quarterly basis and reported to Children and Young People Scrutiny Board biannually to ensure momentum continues in improving outcomes for our most vulnerable children, young people and their families. So it's important that we expose ourselves to the wider political elected members, which we do, as members know, through scrutiny and other forums. But also I think the point about the positive feedback and celebrating our leadership team and the staff, for me, is really, really important, because it helps create a really good work environment, which I think is reflected in the the reduction in the agency workers, the increase in the permanent workforce, but also an atmosphere where our social workers actually lead the recruitment campaign because they're so happy and content working in Oldham and so passionate about what they do. So I think that the two go hand in hand. So thank you for asking the question.
Thank you, Councillor Mushtaq. Councillor Woodbine.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The Conservative Shadow Secretary of State for the Home Office has been in contact with survivors and victims of CSE in Oldham Borough and has raised his concerns that no progress is being made by the Labour government on the public inquiry into historic CSE in our borough. There is no chairman nor terms of reference. So please can the Cabinet Member confirm if Oldham Council has received any communication from the Home Office about their plans for this public inquiry, or much like the survivors, have we also heard nothing? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As you're aware, this is something that's come to us externally. We are working towards it. This is something that is led by the survivors, so I don't think it's for me to kind of act and talk about how we will lead it or try and set out a timeline, because I don't think that's right. And I think that so since the announcement of a national inquiry in June, we have continued to work with the Home Office to ensure that they are listened to and believed. We all want this to happen as soon as possible. We all want justice for those who have been let down. This process needs to be done right in consultation with the survivors so that they can tell their stories. So we will share further details as soon as we have them from the Home Office. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mushtaq. Councillor Davis, you have a question?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. How are we continuing to strengthen outcomes for care leavers, particularly following the co-production of the new pathway plan?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Davis. We are very proud of our leaving care service and the work the service has done to encourage and promote the voice and influence of young people, including the co-production of the new pathway plan. The goal of the revised pathway plan is to provide young people with a more visible plan that they can use in their day-to-day lives with the support of their personal advisor or PA. We strive to ensure young people are involved in all initiatives, which include enhancing our offers from Get Oldham Working and with housing services. This year, our leaving care football team has grown from strength to strength, including playing in a national tournament and being nominated for participation awards. This, in turn, is an excellent place to capture views and influence service development. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Al-Nami.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. White Ribbon Day is November the 25th, this and every year, and Oldham Council is a White Ribbon accredited organisation. And in recent years, the Council has organised sessions for local schools and school children to tackle safeguarding and child protection issues. I've seen some of my fellow councillors at those events, and I welcome the engagement that there has been. And actually, I'm going to take a moment to just the work that the officers and staff do and volunteers do on this is remarkable, and they deserve to be commended. Can I ask what plans the Council has to support White Ribbon Day this year? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Al-Hamdani, and I know how passionate you are about this, and I agree that there is a growing engagement, but I do think that could be improved. The centrepiece of the 2025 White Ribbon Fortnight of Action will be a domestic abuse conference on 25th of November in partnership with Made by Mortals, called Walking on Eggshells, Ending Male Violence Against Women. It will use audio stories and short films to bring to life stories of domestic abuse based on characters co-created by community members with lived experience of domestic abuse. This will be supplemented with a programme of professional development to build skills in tackling and preventing domestic abuse across the multi-agency workforce. This will be delivered in partnership with the Oldham Safeguarding Children Partnership and Oldham Safeguarding Adults Board.
Thank you, Councillor Mushtak. Thank you. Can I just say that the aftercare football team did visit me in the parlour, and you were there, and what a lovely group of young men they were. Thank you. Moving on now, could I invite Councillor Barbara Brownridge, Cabinet Member for Adults, Health and Wellbeing, to present her report.
Mr. Mayor, took me by surprise there. I just want to add some few comments about the proposed replacement health centres at Chatterton and Saddleworth. I think I need to remind everyone that they're going to be competing for resources at a time of financial difficulties across the public sector and with other demands on the NHS, and I remind everybody about the 40 hospitals that Mr Johnson identified as being necessary, none of which have materialised so far. So to have any realistic prospect of success, it's vital that we produce an evidence-based business case for a scheme which can then be supported unanimously by the council and the residents. And I can hope we can agree to do that, because it will be for the benefit of our residents, which is what we're here for. So the first step was the commissioning of the feasibility study, which was referred to in my report. This is currently underway and is considering a number of potential sites, as well as those specifically mentioned in the report. It will then make recommendations on which one is the most feasible, and we're hoping that will be done in the next few weeks. And that recommendation will be based on normal considerations such as accessibility, ground conditions, development costs, infrastructure provision, and so on. Once that work is complete and the case has been made, it's then important that we all support it. If different solutions are then pursued, this will significantly weaken our case, as those other solutions will have already been considered in detail and ruled out. I hope, therefore, that we'll be in a position to agree to support whatever scheme is recommended. Chatterton's slightly different. It has been now identified as Taylor Estate, which I thought was an exciting expression. What it actually means is recognised it is coming to the end of its useful life, and I stress that's not imminent, but it will happen within the next few years. So we now have to look at how we're going to replace that facility. So we're starting with a full physical analysis of the existing building, and then ultimately this will be followed by a feasibility study similar to that is happening in Saddleworth. So once again, we are committed with our National Health colleagues to doing what we can to replace these facilities, but that is dependent on all us singing in unanimous agreement and harmony. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Brownridge. Councillor Adams, you have a question?
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Brownridge, for taking this question. Last Tuesday, the new rankings evaluating the performance of the NHS trusts in England were released. The Northern Care Alliance Trust, which runs the Royal Oldham Hospital, ranked 116th nationally, out of 134 in the table for acute hospital trusts. This is obviously very disappointing and concerning. Would the Cabinet Member please outline what discussions she is having with the Trust regarding this issue? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Now, I must admit I had a look at this document, and I confess I don't feel very much the wiser. And I'm not sure that the public will have a really very clear picture of how their trust is actually performing. We know the pressure the NHS is under to reduce waiting lists at a time of increasing demand and following 14 years of austerity. And the league table doesn't distinguish between the different services hospitals provide. So, for example, there's no consistent relationship between how it ranks on a 4-hour A&E wait, or an 18-week waiting time for elective procedures, or a 28-day faster cancer diagnosis. The NCA ranking covers 4 hospitals, and the ranking doesn't highlight areas of good practice or where things need to improve. So using this data to criticise our local hospital wouldn't achieve anything other than to reduce the confidence of the public and the morale of the staff, who we all agree work really hard. Now, I can assure everybody in this chamber that the NCA has a very clear picture of their services and will be working very hard to make improvements where they're needed, and that's something that we discuss regularly. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Brownridge. Councillor Malik.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could the Cabinet member tell us how Oldham's achievement of micro-elimination of hepatitis C being shared as an example of national best practice? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Malik. So I think we know that, I didn't know, but we are know hepatitis C is a blood-borne virus which left untreated can lead to serious liver damage and can be life-threatening. So it's really important that we find and test cases and treat them, because in 95% of cases they are fully treatable. It's an important achievement for Turning Point as our drugs and alcohol treatment provider to have achieved a micro-elimination of hepatitis C. They do this by offering and providing testing to their clients and ensuring that they complete their treatment. They work regionally and nationally to share this good practice, and we've shared the details with the Department of Health and Social Care. This achievement is reviewed every 6 months to ensure that the good work continues. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Brownridge. Councillor Islam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can the Cabinet member update us on how local communities are being involved in the planning of the Saddleworth and Chadderton Health Centre projects? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Islam. So in terms of Saddleworth, both these projects are obviously being led by the NHS. In terms of Saddleworth, it's currently technical work, looking at what options exist. And once that business case is completed, the options will be considered and narrowed down. So again, as I've already said, for Chadderton, the focus is on understanding the current lifespan of the building. So we're not in a position to engage communities at this stage, but we will do as soon as those feasibility studies are complete. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brownridge. Councillor Rustage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. How are we engaging residents and care providers as we prepare to recommission the care at home and extra care housing frameworks? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rustage. So we're obviously committed to ensuring that residents and providers are fully engaged as we prepare to recommission this framework. So for residents, communications were issued on the 8th of August to those currently receiving care at home and extra care services, advising them of the forthcoming retender process. Alongside this, a resident questionnaire was circulated to capture feedback on their experience, priorities and suggestions for improvement. Residents have also been invited to express an interest in taking part in the evaluation and moderation stage of the tender, ensuring that lived experience of service users directly informs commissioning decisions. We will continue to provide residents updates as the process develops. For providers, a market engagement event was held on the 26th of June and advertised widely through the chest, giving providers the opportunity to understand the commissioning intentions, ask questions and help shape the specification. Clarifications raised during and after the event were published on the chest to ensure transparency. We plan to hold a further engagement session with providers to go through the new specification in detail, to explain the bidding process and answer additional queries. Alongside these sessions, providers will also be able to submit questions via the chest during the tender process itself to ensure fair and open communication. This two-way engagement helps to ensure that the recommissioned framework reflects local needs, promotes quality and delivers improved outcomes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Brownridge. Now could I invite Councillor Mohan Hallett, to Cabinet Member for Education and Skills, to present his report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am very proud to present my report, a report that highlights the progress we are making across Oldham to give every child and young person the best possible start in life. This summer, I joined staff, parents and pupils on GCSE and A-level results days. It was inspiring to see the talent, determination and ambition of Oldham's young people. Early indications show that GCSE attainment remains strong and A-level outcomes are improving compared to previous years. At Key Stage 2, over 2,000 children met the expected standard in reading, writing and maths, with improvements particularly for boys and children eligible for free school meals. This is a real testament to the hard work of our young people, their teachers and school leaders. Ofsted inspections have also brought good news, with positive reports from Oldham Academy North, Brian Clark Academy, Royton and Crompton, Kinglands, PRU, Pupil Referral Unit and many primary schools. On attendance, we are leading the way. Secondary, primary and special school attendance are all rising faster than our neighbours. This is a major achievement and I thank everyone who has worked tirelessly to make sure children in school are learning and thriving. Oldham continues to play a national role in shaping the SEND, which is the Special Educational Needs and or Disability Reform. Through the Department for Education's Change Programme, we are piloting innovative approaches, from early language support in our primaries to our new local inclusion support offer, which brings education, care and health services together around schools. We are also working with Oldham Athletic to open an alternative provision site in the new year, providing tailored support to some of our most vulnerable learners. Alongside this, our SEND capital provision strategy is investing over £11 million to create more than 250 specialist places in local schools. Our music service, Mr. Mayor, remains a jewel in Oldham's crown, with young musicians performing across the borough and beyond, showcasing both talent and the cultural richness of our town. On skills and training, the proportion of young people not in education, employment or training has fallen again, now at 4.63%. Oldham College has secured £437,000 from the GMCA to expand provision in construction and health and life sciences, and we are preparing for a major careers event in November and the launch of our employment and skills strategy at the Get Oldham Working Summit. And finally, I want to celebrate our lifelong learners and volunteers. In July, over 100 people came together to mark the achievements of 42 learners and to thank 18 volunteers who give their time to support others in education. Their stories remind us that learning is not just for the classroom, but a lifelong journey that strengthens our whole community. I am proud of the progress we are making in our schools, in our skills system and in our communities. There is more to do, but we are building strong foundations for Oldham's future. I commend this report to the Council. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ali. Councillor Allison, you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I ask Councillor Ali what work is being done to celebrate this year's Key Stage 2 results and to share best practice with schools that still face challenges? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Holly Harrison, for your question, which is an important question. We welcome the Oldham's 2025 Key Stage 2 results, which showed that our children's reading, writing and mathematics rates increased by 2.2% since 2024, compared to an increase across England of 1.1%. So we have done better than the national averages. We're pleased that the results show a reduction in the gap between the rate for girls and boys and for children who access free school meals and those who don't. The Assistant Director for Education and Early Years shared congratulations with the primary head teacher executive group. The School Improvement Programme shares best practice with targeted schools facing challenges. There is further to go with literacy, so we are focusing on reading as the priority for this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bishop, you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can the Cabinet Member confirm reports that there are leaking classroom ceilings at Waterhead Academy, which have impacted on the school's ability to use them for teaching students? And if so, what is being done to rectify the situation?
Thank you, Councillor Bishop, for your question. On receiving your advance notification of the question, I asked the Director of Education to contact the school, and the Director of Education did so. The school has confirmed that there are no leaks and all classrooms are available for teaching.
Thank you. Councillor Iqbal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could the Cabinet member tell us how the local inclusion sport officer is being rolled out to ensure every school has access to practical help and advice? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Iqbal, for your question. We are pleased to be working with the Department for Education on piloting the development of a local inclusion support offer. In Oldham, we will roll this out to ensure all mainstream school or settings have excellent quality provision in place as a standard for children with SEND. We will provide early and targeted support, so further support for school staff to identify a child's additional needs and access timely help without needing an EHCP, which is an educational healthcare plan. We will ensure specialist support pathways, so clear pathways for school access to access specialist services through an expansion of the work. We are already doing this with our early language support offer for every child and our mental health support teams in schools. So thank you.
Thank you. Moving on now to Councillor Peter Dean, Cabinet Member for Culture and Leisure. Could you present your report, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could go through some highlights within the different elements in my portfolio. Leisure and sport, the Move More initiative is gaining significant momentum, and we've been able to appoint 2 externally funded staff members, and they're basically going to address inequalities throughout the areas of deprivation in the borough. Oldham and Royton leisure centres have benefited from £160,000 of investment, replacing their full range of strength equipment. Royton Pool will reopen next Monday after the pool was relined. The replacement comes with a 15-year guarantee. While the closure was taking place, additional work was carried out on the pool treatment system, lighting, and we just apologise for the closure, but it was absolutely inevitable, unfortunately, because of the deterioration of the system. Heritage, I think that I'd like to give a huge thanks to all the staff that have actually moved all the civic stuff to the J. Klein's building, but also, of course, we're actually opening Oldham Archive Oldham, which is in Spindles, and the staff have actually pulled together from 4 storage units all the different elements and archive material, and that will be opened. Oldham Archives will be open before the end of the month, which is based at the corner of Parliament Square and Ashcroft Street, and I think it'll be a great bonus. One of the highlights of it will be the full Oldham Chronicle archives will be there, which gives a really good profile of Oldham's history over the last 160 years. Also, if I could mention libraries, we've, and the Mayor kindly opened the newly refurbished Northmoor Library. Also, Oldham libraries have benefited from substantial refurbishments, and both these schemes was funded through successfully grant bids from the Arts Council, and they're really good facilities that have actually improved significantly. In arts, major events are taking place both indoor and outdoor, from workshops to live music, and many other events have been enjoyed over the summer. What I'd really like to highlight is Oldham Theatre Workshop and the last performance they did, Chasing the Wind, which I believe you attended, Mr. Mayor, and it's received both local, regional and national acclaim. It was an actual fantastic production that the young people and the people that actually organise Oldham Theatre Workshop will be proud of. And as the leader said earlier on, 500 young people use that particular centre every single week, and 16% of them are people with extra needs. So it's a fantastic programme that's actually been created, and we're extremely pleased, everybody, that they'll be moving in to their own dedicated premises in the J.R. Klein's building very, very soon. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Councillor Woodbine, you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thank the Leader of the Council for her invitation to the lighting up of the old library to mark the birth of the Prophet Muhammad. And while I support such action, it did lead me to reflect on how we seldom light up civic buildings for Christian festivals. We've done it for the NHS's birthday, the B Network, GMP's Operation Avro, even for George Floyd's murder, which is outrageous, but never for Christmas, the birth of Jesus, nor Easter, Christ's resurrection from the dead, nor Pentecost, when the Holy Spirit appeared to the apostles, and which we mark in Saddleworth with church walks and brass band contests. This council must make the Muslim community feel represented, but as of the 2021 census, there were twice as many residents identifying as Christian than Muslim in Oldham. Therefore, will the Cabinet Member ensure Christian festivals are celebrated in a civic capacity by lighting up the old library in future? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I didn't receive notice of the question, but if I may say that the Leader actually funded that event that he referred to out of her own resources. And it's my recollection, vivid recollection, that we certainly do have and have had lighting on the Civic Centre, on this building and other buildings throughout Christmas. Yeah, you know, and it just amazes me that around Christmas particularly, there's so many events and so many actions take place that it certainly represents, you know, the Christian community. But we have to celebrate all communities in this town, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. How are we continuing encouraging more residents to use our newly refurbished libraries and leisure centres as key community hubs?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Davis. Yes, I'll give you a short version, and I'll actually provide Councillor Davis with what is a 3-page version that I've been provided with. Certainly, that's one of the aims. Libraries are no longer just libraries. They're actually hubs of the whole community that provide educational, leisure, advice, all sorts of services. All the staff in the libraries, 139 of them, have actually received training on how to signpost people for support and help and advice everywhere. So we're very pleased that particularly now the new the refurbished Northmoor Library has now got facilities to actually provide both advice services, which are going to be provided on one dedicated afternoon a week. But there's a whole range of different services and different things that are provided through our library service. And I'll circulate and give this to Councillor Davis afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wonder if the Cabinet Member could tell us whether there are plans to expand the time-tracked heritage trail to reach schools and visitors from outside the borough. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Originally scheduled to run to June 2026, the Oldham time track has been extended to 2027. The free family-friendly heritage trail has been marketed extensively across the borough and the rest of Greater Manchester using flyers, press releases, social media posts and websites, and even Radio Manchester have actually done quite a number of pieces on it which have been involved. In the autumn, the trail will be complemented by up to 20 new stops across Oldham Town Centre. The QR codes at the new stops will give residents and visitors free access to brand new audio histories by Jeremy Sutcliffe and the Oldham Area Civic Society. The original poems and mini plays by local theatre company Durton Hall Theatre. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Marland.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As noted in the portfolio report, the Oldham Histories Festival and Heritage Open Days are running later this month, which aim to celebrate the heritage of Oldham. As part of the town's heritage is the nuclear bunker underneath the civic space. So can the Cabinet confirm that this will also form part of the Oldham's heritage, or has it been overlooked? Thank you.
It is part of Oldham Heritage, but it's not going to actually be used in this particular section, and the main reason for that, of course, is that the building currently is actually being looked at by our partners, Muse, to see what the future use of that is. So it would be very, very complicated to open up that part of the building which is now closed. But it's something that, as time goes on, we'll actually look to see if we could progress that. And thank you for reminding me that the actual fortnight of Oldham historic events is taking place, and it's really good programme where I think it's about 26 events that are actually being put on over the last week and this week.
Thank you. Now could I invite Councillor Fidar Hussain, Cabinet Member for Enterprise, to present his report.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Usually it's moving the report, but I felt being the last meeting in this chamber, let's take advantage of it. Happy to update the main activities since the last council meeting relating to the portfolio responsibilities I have. Firstly, on employment and employability, the official measure of unemployment states that Oldham Borough has seen 12% reduction in unemployment with 4.9% unemployment rate. That's March 2025, compared to 5.5% the previous year, March 2024. Universal credit claimants remain steady at 7%. Get Oldham Working core offer supporting 7,000 residents each year with jobs, training, apprenticeships, businesses, advice and well-being. Working wardrobe, 520 residents supported year to date. Therapy and counselling, 3 rooms now are open, between 90 and 100 sessions a week. Access to gym and physical well-being sport. I'll just touch on the key points, Mr Mayor, if I may. Restart programme, ahead of engagement and outcome. Recently 280 residents started work since April. Improved employers links, access to GM-wide vacancies, weekly job starting, supporting the access to GM-wide vacancies, supporting the key council priorities, including working the Muse and their supply chain to connect residents to the new job opportunities. National Care Service, 1,120 residents supported since April 2025, Mr Mayor. 90% satisfaction, external audit completed with no issues. Sport to Succeed has been done. Vanguard 65 residents have so far been onto the programme in 6 weeks. Oldham exceeds 100% engagement target, one of the few GM providers achieving this, demonstrating strong demand for work and health integration. New projects, mobile and the Trailblazer, we've had 35 referrals, Mr Mayor. Extensive work has been carried out to develop bespoke management information system. Sanctuary Seekers program started in September 12th. Early referrals logged. Performance and achievements, 612 job outcomes, Q1 63% sustained, 148 apprenticeships and training starts, 210 residents supported with in-work progression. Expanded therapy, provision and 2 new GM programs have been mobilized. Community and business engagement, 240 businesses engaged, creating 310 new opportunities. Social media reach 6,800 plus on Facebook media. Linked followers 4,000, business supported to meet social value through local recruitment. Recent residents' feedback, which is very satisfying, Mr. Mayor. The gentleman said, working wardrobe gave me this confidence to attend my interview. And further says, I didn't just get the job, therapy made the difference. So I move the report as printed, Mr. Mayor, and I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sajid Hussain, question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor, for a much detailed report. How are we encouraging local businesses to make the most of supply chain opportunities created by major projects such as Muses housing development? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Sajid Hussain. We are keen to ensure local businesses benefit from the investment that the Council and its partners are making in the borough. Last month, one of the Council's major developer partners held supply chain briefing at the Hive to local businesses, and now knowing the upcoming opportunities for the communities and residents. Next week, Wilmot Dixon are also hosting a supply chain event at the Hive in Spindles with details of all their forthcoming projects across the Greater Manchester. And there are plans emerging from another event in the coming months for another developer partner. These events are well attended and many opportunities for supply chains, services and materials are available. We continue to encourage all local businesses to attend these and to connect with the opportunities that they may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kuzla.
Thank you. Can you please provide an update on the current status of lease agreements for market traders and the permission needed for them to fit out their stalls? Given that traders are yet to receive leases and approvals to fill their spaces, can the Council confirm whether the previously stated October opening dates remain feasible, or if a revised timeline such as December or January is more realistic? Additionally, what measures are the Council taking to mitigate delays and support traders in transitioning from Tommyfield Indoor Market to the new facility? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I think it's rather to the leader rather than myself, this question.
Yeah. Councillor Sharp.
Well, it's not Councillor Feeder's portfolio. My report's already gone, so I can provide a written response.
Councillor Iqbal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can the Cabinet members share how we are celebrating the success of Get Oldham working to inspire more residents to take part? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is one of my favourites. Thank you for the question, Councillor Iqbal. We're working hard to showcase Get Oldham Working's impact and encourage even more residents and employers to get involved. And our approach is independent evaluation and external review underway to evidence our impact, improve what we do and showcase the outcomes. Developing customer engagement and feedback. We're working with local drama social enterprise to cooperate a production telling the story of residents supported by Get Oldham Working. Sharing case studies and success stories through our websites and social media channels to show how local people have benefited. Furthermore, running high-profile events, for example, our large jobs fair here on this Thursday at Queen Elizabeth Hall, which I invite every member and the public that's here listening. This will be held at Queen Elizabeth Hall with over 60 employees and an expected 3,000 visitors. The timing will be between 12 and 3, if I'm not mistaken. Raising Get Oldham Working's profile at local events. We were the match sponsor for Oldham Athletics versus Bromley, those that went last weekend, highlighting the Get Oldham Working to thousands of fans, and we're also sponsoring the Oldham Business Awards on 3rd of October. Celebrating key milestones internally and externally, such as opening a 3rd therapy room, now offering up to 100 hours of counselling, sport per week, to help residents overcome barriers into work. Together, these actions both celebrate our success and actively drive more residents and businesses to engage with Get Oldham Working. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gafoor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As Councillor Woodwine just raised the issue of regarding the lighting of your library for the birth of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, which was greatly appreciated by the Muslim community in Oldham. Could I ask Councillor Hussain and the leader, while also congratulating her on this initiative, whether the council would consider extending this gesture to introducing Eid lights in the town centre, as we do with the Christmas lights, to help more residents use the shopping centre and hopefully supporting businesses within the new markets and the town centre? Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, thank you, Kamran, for the question. Yeah, I think both of these things are happening at the moment. Christmas lights, Eid lights, they're all taking place. I think, from what I remember, we did have Eid lights in the past. But however, I'll be more than happy to look into it.
A written reply to that, perhaps? Yeah,
that's fine.
Right, moving on now. Could I invite Councillor Chris Goodwin, Cabinet Member for Transport and Highways, to present his report?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Further to the report, I'd like to emphasise how much this administration and this government value investment in our public transport network, and additional funding is welcome. The proposed train scheme linking Bury via Haywood to the current network is excellent news, and the fact that Oldham is part of the pilot programme demonstrates how important Oldham is to both Greater Manchester and nationally in terms of investment. On the buses, conversations around network review are ongoing, and we are working with TFGM to learn lessons from Tranche 1 to ensure we make improvements. Some improvements to routes are already being put in place. We're continuing to roll out our school street scheme, and our ANPR model we have in Lees is something other authorities in Greater Manchester are looking to adopt as a gold standard scheme. On highways, the gully cleansing programme continues. I'd like to apologise, Mr Mayor, for an error in the Green Book. The quote of the number of gullies visited should read approximately 24,000, as the 47,500 figure is the number of gullies that will be visited at the end of the programme. There are revisits taking place to those gullies that are damaged or require further work. And I'll take this opportunity, Mr Mayor, to remind Council that the gully cleansing programme was presented to all councillors before it commenced. All members were aware of the details, the rollout of the programme, including the order in which wards would be visited, which was determined by a data-led approach. I'd ask members to allow our workforce to complete the programme when we will be able to reflect and learn any lessons from the experience. And following on from last meeting's motion, myself and the Director of Environment met with Councillor Byrne to discuss her concerns and how to progress. There is a breakdown in the report regarding pothole repairs, with over 2/3 of those inquiries resulting in a repair. The other third may not qualify as a pothole, or they may not be an urgent repair. The minor drainage programme is underway, with work taking place to reduce the risk of flooding where possible. And I'm also pleased to announce that, subject to Cabinet approval, Oldham have secured funding of £7.3 million from CRSTS1 for the delivery of 2 projects, Oldham Edge and Higginshaw Active Travel Link and Oldham Town Centre Sustainable Connectivity Links. These schemes align with Oldham's strategic transport objective and growth and support wider GMCA ambitions for sustainable mobility and inclusive growth. Furthermore, they complement our current CRSTS1 schemes, which have already received funding. Those are St Mary's Way, Mumps, Broadway to Rochdale Canal Link, and Park Road and Kings Road. Finally, we are prepared for the winter months, with 6 tonnes of salt purchased over the summer to take advantage of lower prices, and the hire of the gritters, which are now at our More Hay Street depot. Happy to take questions, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Rustage.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. How are we engaging schools and residents to grow participation in these school streets and active travel programmes, please?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Rustage. Oldham's active travel team deliver a range of initiatives to engage both residents and schools with our goal to increase levels of active travel in the borough. We work closely with the public health team to embed healthier travel habits, overcome barriers to active travel and build capacity in communities. This takes the form of training, providing equipment and messaging about the benefits of active travel. We also support and amplify the campaigns of TFGM and GM Moving. The active travel team supports schools to conduct pilots and establish school streets where suitable. We provide site assessments, conduct consultation events and communicate with stakeholders. Schools are supported to establish travel plans and deliver behaviour change activities as part of an accreditation process led by TFGM. The active travel team will continue to deliver school street pilots over the next 12 months and apply for future funding to implement more schemes.
Thank you. Councillor Marlon.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. My colleagues and I receive daily complaints about the weeding. I'm afraid I'm on the weeding again. That is appearing on every street and path in our borough. Our neighbourhoods are unkempt, they're overgrown with weeds, and they've been left for so long that they're now mini trees. It's clear to our communities that this administration does not care that the people living or visiting our area see the endless array of scruffy streets and footpaths. Fortunately, most people of this borough do care deeply about where they live and have pride in their areas, but are rightly demanding answers. I would like to know how many visits have been made by a weeding specialist this summer. I wouldn't be surprised if some have never actually been visited. And is it only action by request, or will every street automatically be revisited before the end of autumn? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. This is actually Councillor Taylor's portfolio, but I will answer on behalf. The Council recognises the importance of keeping the borough clean and understands what this means to residents. It is for this reason that after contractor failure in summer of 2024, the Council made significant investment to bring weed spraying service in-house. The additional investment in training and equipment means that the Council operatives have been able to deliver borough-wide weed spraying this year. The first round was completed by the end of July 25 and the second round is currently ongoing. But this has been significantly impacted by the weather, with intermittent rain making weed spraying ineffective. For clarity, every adopted road and path in the borough is subjected to weed spraying. However, there are instances where, due to parked vehicles or other obstructions, some areas may be missed. Where this happens, operatives follow up with handheld spraying. This approach does impact the wider delivery programme, as handheld spraying takes much longer. Once the area has been sprayed, it can take 2 to 4 weeks for the weeds to die. The area is then swept, either manually or mechanically, to remove the dead weeds. We fully appreciate that some weeds are resistant to traditional weed killers, and where this is an issue, more targeted work is undertaken, including additional sprays and then follow-up visits. This will continue over the coming months.
Thank you, Councillor Goodwin. Councillor Islam.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Could the Cabinet Member tell us how we are ensuring Oldham's voice is heard as part of the GM Rail Vision and Tram Train Pathfinder scheme? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Islam. Oldham has been part of the conversations around both the GM Rail Vision and the Tram Train Pathfinder, with officers at both Oldham Council and TFGM working closely together. Our representative on the B network, Councillor Charters, has been vocal in ensuring that Oldham's voice is heard on these issues, especially the Tram Train Pathfinder, and I am sure he will continue to try and make sure Oldham's voice is heard.
Councillor Sajid Hussain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can the Cabinet member update us on how we are keeping residents informed about the pothole area repairs and drainage improvement works across the borough?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Hussain. The Council's Highway Inspection Team monitors the condition of all 800 kilometres of adopted highways across the borough through a range of inspection frequencies. These inspections are carried out according to nationally agreed standards and timescales, with any safety defects, including potholes, being identified for repair. The repair of these identified defects are prioritised according to severity and then actioned by Highways Operations over nationally agreed timescales ranging from 2 hours to 28 days. In addition, resident reports regarding highways issues, including potholes, are added to inspection lists, with residents and members being informed of outcomes directly. These processes happen in parallel and are in addition to the annual capital programme of highways works, where capital funds from central government are targeted towards those roads needing complete surfacing and surface treatments to prevent potholes forming in the first place. As you're aware, the Council is currently halfway through its gully cleaning programme. This is reducing any drainage risk significantly across the borough. In addition, as the lead local flood authority, the Council also identifies areas of risk, determines responsibilities and carries out works where external funding via central government can be sought. There is also funding within the annual capital programme to carry out small drainage works throughout the financial year, becoming a priority. And finally, the Council also works with drainage partners such as the Environment Agency, United Utilities, with an aim to gain funding and develop and carry out works together.
Thank you, Councillor Goodwin.
As has been the case in the town centre
Mr.
recently.
Mayor, can I raise a point of order, please? The questions we submitted, the first question was regards the gully clearance programme. This is the second time that our first question has been skipped in order to answer another question which we were then told was not in the Cabinet member's portfolio, but was answered anyway. Can we please ensure that questions are answered in the, in respect of the order in which they are submitted and not...
I chair the meeting and I tried to share them out equally among the different parties.
Well, it doesn't appear to have been done very equally.
I object to that remark, so would you please withdraw it?
I retract that remark.
Thank you. We will now move on to item 10, Notice of Administration Business, for which we have 30 minutes. As I said, there are 30 minutes set aside for this item. Motion 1 is entitled Recognising Palestine and the Famine in Gaza. I call on Councillor Mushtaq to move and Councillor Taylor to second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That we stand here in 21st century Britain whilst the genocide unfolds in Gaza is a failure of all humanity. At the end of the Second World War, when Buchenwald concentration camp was liberated, prisoners displayed signs in various languages that read, "Never again." Cambodia, Bosnia, Rwanda, Darfur, the Rohingya, the Yazidi, and now the Palestinian genocide have followed. What happened to never again? What happened to learning lessons from the past? We were not meant to learn how to be more efficient at committing genocide. We were meant to learn how horrific it was, how innocent people were murdered simply for being who they were, murdered for having an identity, for living in their homes, for being weaker than those that wanted to ethnically cleanse them. We were meant to learn that collectively we can never let this happen again. Never again. Such atrocities happen when we lose our humanity, when we become blind to the existence or acceptance that another group is also human, when we hide behind democracy or Western values, whatever those are today, or when we hide behind notions such as international allies, moral, racial or religious superiority over another. We manage to convince ourselves that we're doing our duty by wiping out a whole group of people, by displacing them and by taking over their homes and their land. To Israel, the Palestinian people have ceased to be human. This is not my opinion, It's what the genocidal Israeli government have made clear to the world. On 30th November 2023, Avigdor Lieberman, Israel's former Deputy Prime Minister, said, "There are no innocent people in the Gaza Strip." A clear admission of collective punishment for the people of Gaza. On 13th November 2023, Nissim Vaturi, Deputy Speaker of the Knesset, said, "Open the port of Gaza, put them on ships and ship them to Scotland because a 10-year-old boy is a terrorist in 6 to 7 years." There are over 500 examples of such genocidal intent statements on the Law for Palestine website, with dates and references. Viewing innocent children as terrorists is how their snipers justify shooting children in the head, torso and testicles, sometimes while they wait for food. Because they are starving. Killing innocent civilians by dropping £2,000 bombs wasn't fulfilling Israel's needs, so they created Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, or the GHF. With this came food distribution sites, and now they are much more intimate in their genocide as they shoot innocent Palestinian children whilst they queue for food. Mr. Mayor, recognising Palestine shouldn't be a matter of debate. Palestine is a state with around 5 million Palestinians currently residing in Gaza and the West Bank, with a total of 9.17 million displaced Palestinians worldwide. It's time the UK and the world made clear to Israel and her supporters that Palestine exists, it always has existed, and it always will exist. Yesterday, a United Nations Commission inquiry found that Israel's war on Gaza is a genocide. This is something we already knew, but has now been confirmed. That's why I implore everyone in the chamber to support this motion and send a clear message that Oldham stands with Palestine. Thank you.
Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The escalation of hostilities in the Gaza Strip has already killed and injured many thousands of innocent people. Last week, Benjamin Netanyahu publicly told residents of Gaza City to evacuate ahead of Israel's imminent ground operation. On Friday evening, more than 50 strikes hit the heart of residential areas in Gaza City. 37 attacks happened in 20 minutes. That's one strike every 30 seconds. Over 100,000 people were displaced as the airstrikes intensified, forcing the families who could to flee the area and overwhelm medical facilities. Since October 2023, more than 20,000 children have been killed in Gaza by Israeli forces. And after 2 years of relentless violence, the UN Commission of Inquiry has now concluded that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. The findings cite the scale of killings, aid blockages, forced displacement, and even the destruction of a fertility clinic. And the chair of the Commission has stated the responsibility for these atrocity crimes lies with the Israeli authorities at the highest echelons. This systematic campaign of displacement, destruction and dehumanisation against the Palestinian people cannot be allowed to continue. We must speak, we must act, and we must hold those responsible to account. Because even in conflict, there are rules. Cutting off food, water, electricity and fuel for civilians is not lawful. Blocking humanitarian relief from reaching civilians in need is not lawful. Creating permanent displacement of civilians is not lawful. This level of destruction hasn't been seen in decades. People are desperate to find shelter and food. Famine has now also been officially confirmed in Gaza City. Access to food and other essential items has plummeted to unprecedented levels. Everyone is hungry, everyone is in need. Over 100 children have already died from starvation and disease, so exhausted and malnourished they can't even cry. Gaza's children are starving
Babies are wasting away because they don't have access to baby formula or clean water. Doctors are reporting that children are increasingly telling medical staff that they wish they were dead. Can any of us here really imagine a child saying that they wish they were dead? One little boy said that he wanted to be in heaven because that's where his mother is, because that's where there is water, there is food, and there is love. These children are someone's everything, and we should not allow their suffering to become normalised. This is not a natural disaster, it's a man-made catastrophe. I cannot even begin to comprehend their pain, praying for hope and peace and a way out. The situation is devastating, but we must not look away. We need a permanent, sustained ceasefire, and we urgently need to support the delivery of aid. If there is any hope of lasting peace, we need an end to the military operations on occupied territory and the recognition of the state of Palestine. But I do want to finish by saying this. Innocent civilians are not their governments. Israelis and Palestinians are politically diverse, and whether here or abroad, members of the Jewish community should not be blamed for the acts of the Israeli government, and Palestinians should not be held responsible for the actions of Hamas.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. We have received amendments which we will deal with in order. I am taking Amendment 1 first. I call upon Councillor Gafour to move and Councillor Waheed to second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Well, I'm glad that finally we're on the same page, Councillor Mushtaq. You've said it in this council, but unfortunately you haven't mentioned it in your motion, that it is a genocide. So our amendment, so please listen to what we have to say and vote with our amendment, because our amendment quite clearly states what we want. So the leash has been loosened, but the muzzle is still firmly on. Councillors, that line captures exactly what we see before us today. After 2 years of silence, Labour councillors now pretend to find their voice. But make no mistake, this is not conviction. This is calculation. They stayed silent when it mattered, and only now, when votes are at risk, do they speak. But people are not fools. They remember the silence. They remember when the Oldham group raised the alarm on Gaza in this very chamber, and Councillor Mushtaq sat right there and said that we were dancing on the graves of children, with the Labour leader nodding along. What an insult. What a disgrace. Respect was lost that day. And today, Labour brings forward a motion that continues with that cowardice. And why? Because Keir Starmer says recognition of Palestine must come with conditions. Conditions? Tell me, councillors, what conditions can be placed on the lives of starving children, on families forced from their homes, on the dead in the mass graves? There are none. None. That is why our amendment must be supported. Labour's motion speaks of a humanitarian crisis, but this is the language of evasion. Let us be honest, this is a genocide. This is ethnic cleansing. This is a deliberate weaponization of starvation. The facts are stark. 83% of the dead in Gaza are civilians. More children have been killed there than in all global conflicts for the past 4 years combined. The United Nations' own experts confirm famine is here, and it has been engineered by siege and blockade. To call this a mere crisis is to betray both the living and the dead. Our amendment does more than speak the truth. It demands action. Recognition of Palestine must not be delayed. Britain must suspend every single arms sale to Israel. Not tomorrow, not after conditions, but now. Those responsible must face international justice. Oldham Council must not lend its name to moral cowardice. Councillors, this is not about party politics. It is about history. There are moments when silence is complicity, when timidity is betrayal. This is such a moment. Councillor Shah, I call on you directly. Break free from Westminster discipline. Give your councillors the freedom to vote with their conscience. Do not muzzle them any longer. And to the Labour councillors, I say, wake up. Wake up to the cries of starving children, to the rubble of flattened homes, to the graveyards that grow by the hour. Our residents, Oldham, have shown greater courage than many in this chamber. They have marched, They have raised money. They have spoken truth when governments would not. Let us have the decency to match their courage. History will not forgive those who looked at genocide and called it a humanitarian crisis. But it will remember who stood firm, who stood with honesty, who demanded justice. A leader once urged, we must stand in defiance of tyranny, however long the trial, however hard the road. So I ask you, the councillors in this chamber, to stand with the people of Oldham, to stand with humanity, call this crime by its name, vote for the amendment, vote for the truth and vote for justice. Thank you.
Councillor Waheed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Honourable members, members of the public, I'd like to start by, first of all, congratulating Councillor Mushtaq and Councillor Taylor for finally breaking free from their party whip and speaking the truth. Because the truth will always stand the test of time. And when we look at previous statements made by our counterparts in Labour, the misinformation is plain for everyone to see. They lacked the honesty, and that is why they deflected, accusing us of hijacking Gaza for political point scoring. But I'm happy to see that you've changed your mind, and I'm hoping that you will now look at your amendment and look at our amendment and see that your words now only match our amendment. But let it also be clear that it was Labour who printed election promises saying Labour will recognise Palestine. The Tories won't, and the independents can't. So why now, when the moment has come, do they attach conditions? Their leader says recognition will only happen at the right time in a peace process. What does that mean? It means recognition is still dependent on Israel agreeing. That is not recognition of a people's right to exist. It is recognition with strings attached. It lacks sincerity. Why do they speak only of a humanitarian crisis and a famine, but fail to call it for what it is? It's an ethnic cleansing. Well done, you finally said it. It's collective punishment. Well done, you finally said it. It's forced starvation used as a weapon of war. Well done. Finally, you've dug deep in your humanity and you've said it. So vote for our amendment, because that's what it says. And yet Labour praises the UK government for its moral leadership, while Britain still supplies the engines for the very drones killing our countless children. But because you've had this change of heart, I'm not going to go over what you've said here in the past, Councillor Mushtaq. So let me share with you what honesty looks like. A Palestinian genocide survivor told me what happened to her family in Gaza just weeks ago. Her brother-in-law left home to find food for his wife and their 3-year-old daughter. On that desperate journey, an Israeli drone locked on and shot him through the head. His wife watched in terror from her home, unable to call for help in case those drones targeted her too. Only when it left could she raise the alarm, but it was too late. Her husband was gone. Her little girl, 3 years old, is fatherless, already wasted by hunger. This is not war. It is the hunting of civilians. It is starvation used as a weapon. It is genocide. We want a ceasefire. We want aid to flow freely. We want our country to stop arming Israel. That is our that's what our constituents want, and that's what we want. And history will show no mercy to the duplicity and the complicity of politicians who refuse to demand the same. Absolutely. And let me finish with this, that no amount of gaslighting will ever silence us. We will continue to speak about the plight of the Palestinian people because they live in our hearts and their suffering troubles our conscience. I implore every member here tonight to strip back the politics and dig deep into our humanity. vote in favour of the Oldham Group's amendments, and in doing so, do not forget, injustice anywhere will risk justice everywhere. Today, it is the Palestinians. Tomorrow, it could be you. I move this amendment.
Mr Mayor, can I do a point of order, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Can I just point out here that the comments just made by the independent, obviously Cameron Ghaffar and Wahid, are factually incorrect. We have always, and I will use the same tone that you stand up and use the exact same tone. We have always called it. Yes, we have. Do not dare, do not dare. Cameron Ghaffar, please, Councillor Ghaffar, do not,
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor,
and you have actually called it.
Mr. Mayor.
Can we sit down, please?
Mr. Mayor, at the last point of order, at the last meeting when I wasn't here, point of order, when I wasn't here, Councillor Wahid asked the leader of the council to say that this was a genocide. Did she say it? Did she say at that time? No, she didn't, because they were not allowed to. And that's what this is all about, Mr. Mayor. And you know what, Councillor Nasheed? This is what the problem is. You say one thing on your motion, but you don't say it, and you say different things on your speech to show people. And this is the duplicity that what people...
Please. Now, we're missing the point of this whole discussion. We need to focus on it now. Thank you. Right. Does any member wish to speak? I've had some indications, but it's about speaking on Amendment 1. So I will take them. Councillor Akhtar first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but however, I would like to congratulate the Oldham Group, in particular Councillor Mushtaq and Councillor Taylor. Sorry, Labour Group. Labour Group. Councillor Mushtaq and Councillor Taylor to finally waking up and calling it a genocide. A far change from initially telling your members to not attend protests and not to mention Palestine in their election material. And if I'm lying, please point it out. And it's a far cry, finally, waking up to thousands of Palestinians that are being killed and maimed. I just wish that you had woken up to this back in October 2023. People out there will doubt you now. Are you worried about your extinction, or really about the innocent Palestinians? This is about humanity, not politics.
Thank you, Councillor Hinds.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I understand this is an emotive subject, so I speak on this matter with the utmost respect. I don't think anyone with a shred of humanity wouldn't be appalled by the massacre, murder and abduction of Israeli citizens by a terrorist organisation and the subsequent war of annihilation inflicted on the people of Palestine. However, that said, I believe that this council chamber should focus more on relevant things it can achieve for its citizens, rather than pretending to play on the world stage. So therefore, we will be abstaining from both the motion and the amendment. Thank you.
Councillor Junaid Hussain. Junaid Hussain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So while the attacks on October the 7th have universally been condemned, Israel's military action in Gaza have affected individuals worldwide. The response has resulted in the deaths of approximately 65,000 civilians, including 18,000 children. Strikes on residential areas, schools and hospitals in Gaza have led to ongoing displacement in millions of Palestinians. Gaza is currently devastated with a worsening humanitarian crisis as Israel intensifies its offensive. With the Israeli government's limited aid, which has been described as inadequate, ineffective and inhumane by officials and charitable organisations, around 64,000 civilians face food starvation and food insecurity. Mr. Mayor, we must recognise what is happening in Gaza and call it for what it is. It is a genocide. An immediate and unconditional permanent ceasefire is urgently needed, and this position has been consistently upheld by myself, my Medlock Vale councillors, and along with the Labour group for over the past 2 years. It is imperative that humanitarian aid is permitted without restriction into Gaza. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We do need to move this on because we are running out of time. So, does Councillor Mushtaq wish to reply?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a response as to why we can't support the amendment and why everyone that hears that response will agree with us that we cannot support the amendment. But what I will say is listen back to the speeches. So listen back to our speeches and listen back to their speeches. So our speeches had absolutely zero political stint on them, and theirs were replete with attacks using a genocide, attacking a political party, because it depends. Just listen. Because it depends.
Excuse me, Councillor Mushtaq. Yeah. Could members of the public...
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor. So because they're that predictable, I've printed out a few things. So this is from October 2023, when you were still Conservative councillors.
Excuse me.
When you were still Conservative
Sit down.
councillors.
Excuse me. Could members please let Councillor Mushtaq speak? And the public. Could members of the public
listen,
be quiet, please? Thank you.
If you listen, you'll understand. So that was October 23 when you were still Conservatives. Then there was the Mayor's letter that we all signed, again when you were still Conservatives. Then there was my call to suspend Israel's arms, again in 24. Then there was my LBC radio interview, and Councillor Shawbakta, I've just sent you on WhatsApp a speech from last year that I did, where I called it a genocide, where I said an upcoming famine-based genocide is also about to occur. No, it's a speech. Right.
Okay. Let's have an argument
now I'm going to read out why we can't... So we need some context to this before I just read. This is a minute long, so it won't take long. But the context is... Sorry. So, Mr. Mayor, the amendment is right. The amendment is right about one thing. Our residents deserve honesty. I want to make my views clear on this. This is the view of my group, and I'd like to think the views of all those that are not trying to exploit the genocide. The October 7th attack in Israel, whilst awful and horrific, something I condemn, was a terrorist attack. It was not a genocide. To conflate the terrorist attack on 7th October with the ongoing genocide is abhorrent. It's an insult to the Palestinian people and to everyone fighting for justice and for the Palestinians to bring an end to the slaughter. Mr. Mayor, paragraph 3, line 12 of the Oldham Group amendment, and I quote, "The number of civilians impacted by this genocide in Israel and Palestine is unpalatable to thousands of people across Oldham." End quote. What's unpalatable is the Oldham Group's attempt to side with the Israeli government in calling the October 7th attacks a genocide. It's shameful, and it's why we won't be supporting the amendment. I will be requesting... they've called Israel attack a genocide. I will be requesting a recorded vote to see which of the Oldham Group councillors votes for an amendment that diminishes the genocide in Gaza by sharing it with the terrorism that occurred in Israel. You've written that amendment. You've called the terrorist attacks a genocide. It's not a genocide. We're not supporting this motion.
Thank you. Thank you. I've got right of reply, surely. Yeah, of course. You have no conviction, Councillor Mushtaq. The only reason you brought this motion forward is for political advantage. That's it. People are not stupid. People are not stupid. You can fool people no longer, Councillor Mushtaq.
Why are you not addressing your point?
Hypocrisy is quite blatant.
Why have you called
ask for a recorded
the
vote.
attacks in
The Oldham
Israel
group have always
a
and will
genocide?
always stand with Gaza and the people of Gaza.
Why
you
have you called
your group haven't.
Sit down,
Do not
please.
dare lecture.
Please sit down.
A genocide on Gaza and the Oldham group.
I'm going to adjourn this meeting if we're not careful.
How can you adjourn a meeting when I've got my right of reply and he's interrupting me?
We're arguing across the chamber.
Well, then let me speak then. Please, let me speak. You can stand here and give sound bites and, you know, why do you not translate into the motion? Why do you not put it in the motion? Right. That is
I'm going to call this for an adjournment. Are we happy? Do we wish to... Are members happy to adjourn the meeting? Carry on. Right, thank you.
And now, all of a sudden, you are attacking us for not speaking about Gaza. This is the whole point. No, one second.
This is not talking to the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not talking to him. And the video that's going to come straight after this, you will have a video straight after this, like you do,
Councillor
to
Ghaffar.
defend people what is undefensible.
Right.
You cannot defend...
Councillor
the
Ghaffar,
Labour
sit
Party
down, please.
cannot defend...
Sit down, please.
No, Mr. Mayor.
Right.
I refuse to sit down.
Oh, right.
I refuse to sit
Sit
down,
down.
Mr. Mayor, because... No, Mr. Mayor, look, seriously, you need to let me have a right of reply.
We're
I'm
going
nearly
to adjourn
finished.
the meeting.
I'm nearly finished.
We are adjourning the meeting.
I'm nearly finished.
Thank you. Could members please go back to their group rooms? Thank you.